Okay, I'm here at the Powerhouse Podcast with Dan McOmber and Ross Murray. They are the leaders of Rayva Solar, and I wanted them on this Powerhouse Podcast because what they're doing in this renewable energy field and sector is make some powerhouses in their field. So Dan is the founder and CEO of Rayva, and Ross is the co-founder and SVP of sales for Rayva. So with that, why don't I start with you, Dan,
Yeah,
and maybe you could tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to Rayva, and then really for those who have no idea what Rayva is, what is Rayva?
you bet. So the background, I appreciate being here. And my background when I first got into solar was probably about 15, 20 years ago when I had a previous business that was focused on satellite communications, it was government work. And we would install remote satellite arrays for the receiving of satellite signals, right? And because they were so remote for the military, we had to create solar arrays that would power those with batteries and send that signal to the receiving stations. So that was my first exposure to building solar arrays and understanding how solar works and the benefits of solar. Then that business was sold in 2018 and started developing new ideas of some kind of integrated solar. In the industry, they call it BIPV or building integrated photovoltaic. And feedback that we were getting at that time was that the aesthetics of the solar on at least residential just was not very good.
The
So
panels.
the panels, yeah, they sit up on top of the roof. You have this brand new beautiful house a lot of times, and then you put solar up there, and it's super beneficial. But people just were like, "Is there something that looks better?" Um, and so started diving into that in 2019 and started developing it. Started building a team, getting engineers on board, and that's when we started developing and testing the product. It's been about 4 years in the making. We've gone through a few iterations already. We have a product that is fully UL tested, certified, California Energy Commission certified. It's ready for market, but it just wasn't what we wanted to go to market with for a couple different reasons, warranty reasons, supply chain, things of that nature. The new product that we're developing now is a ton better. We've learned a lot from generation one of the product, and so Rayva is really a energy company, and we're working direct business to business with production builders and modular home builders, all kinds of builders. It makes the most sense to install our product at the point of construction. We do retrofits, but at the point of construction, it makes perfect sense because it hangs on those same battens as the solar or as the concrete tiles. It doesn't cause any roof defects. We're not, punching holes in the roof. And it's a business model so that the production builders can get a price point that is very sensible, can be wrapped
Right.
into the mortgage. I'm sure Ross will talk more about that later. And then it also, is beneficial to the homeowner when they can take that ITC tax credit, in the following tax year. So Rayva is really an energy company, not just a solar company, in the sense that we're also looking at we're implementing energy storage as well as energy production. So we have we have our solar panels, our integrated BIPV solar panels, and here this year we're testing the batteries as well.
So is integrated solar panels, is that basically the you're not in a bracket like say my solar panel is at home. This is when you say integrated, is it inside? Is it in the shingle? Is it part of the roof?
It is. So it displaces the roof. Exactly. So where those Rayva panels are, that tile is removed. So those are actually the tile. And because of that, our testing is a little bit more in depth because we're not just being tested as a solar panel, but also as a roof product,
Yeah.
right? So we have to pass all of the hail and wind uplift, fire, spread of flame. There's a lot more tests for our product as a BIPV product. So it actually takes the place of the roof in that area of the rooftop.
How far along are you till actually getting a roof shingle on a roof? When does production start?
That's an excellent question. So we do have, as I mentioned earlier, the generation one. It's on a few homes that we're testing now with the battery technology as well. But the Gen two is end of the year. We're really focused on in November, beginning of December to really move into production.
Awesome, cool. So Ross, how did you get involved with Rayva?
It was probably 3 or 4 years ago. all of a sudden I had just solar all around me. Like my neighbor is a major solar contractor, Titan Solar. And anytime I see that number of business being tied to real estate, I take notice. And Titan was doing some crazy numbers in those years, 30, 40,000 homes per year. And so I started to take a deep dive into, well, how does that financing work? And what's the benefit? And honestly, solar can provide a lot of benefit. It's there's a couple factors I think that can impact its benefit, and that is what are you paying for that solar? If there's any kind of net metering going on, so net metering for those who are listening is we're a public utility company. Our public utility company is SRP APS. For a while there, they would buy back energy from homeowners, and that's how you were able to benefit from a reduced power bill. Is because during the day you'd be at work, and your home is deriving all that energy, right? Because the sunlight's hitting that solar. And unless you were using something in your home, there was leftover solar. So the power company said, okay, send it back to us onto the grid and we'll buy it back. Well, the public utility companies aren't designed, the grids aren't designed to do that. I'm not an engineer, and this is just a little bit that I know about the industry, about the solar industry. So they started phasing that out. And so the benefit of that was being diminished. And that was another thing that drew me to Rayva. But as I took notice to the solar industry, I noticed that the financing mechanism was pretty easy. You could allow for most homeowners to get approval for solar financing. They would tie it to not technically to the lien to the title of the property, but as a UCC lien, which is a collateral lien. And the default rate on solar is like something crazy low, because the alternative, if you don't pay your solar bill, you have to they turn off your solar, right? And then you go back onto the grid, and that's going to cost you more. So the performance of those were really high. But what I noticed was the fees for that were exorbitant, in the tune of like 30 points. So they had these incredibly low interest rates, 1%, 2%, 3% interest, but you were paying 30 points. So that meant for a $50,000 solar system, $15,000 potentially was going to that financing company to finance the property. So I started looking into the mortgage side of things, which was, can you finance this through your mortgage, and at what point can you do that? And so FHA has SWT, Solar Wind Technology, which allows for you to roll in the cost of your solar into the purchase of your home or your refinance of your home. Fannie Mae has the energy efficient mortgage, EEM. Freddie Mac has Green Choice. So all the agencies had an option for solar that nobody was really using, and it cut out those financing fees. So I took notice of that right away. And then the second thing I noticed too was sometimes the deployment method, the sales method of, being a sales leader for neighborhood loans, I always take notice of what the sales component is for any industry. And, they had people that would go door knock, or they had online lead generation, things like that. And there was, I think, enough benefit that it allowed for an industry to be created and to benefit greatly. And I don't want to diminish or demise that industry, because we have partners, and we're going to have partners that are in that entity. But I do believe that we're at a place with solar that we're at this pivotal crossroad where, it's like mortgage, right? When the CFPB was created and Dodd-Frank, you had to get tooled up, and it was a survival of the fittest. I see solar in that same crossroad right now. And I actually got introduced to Rayva through Andrew Augustiniak, who is with my group. He has a podcast, and he interviewed a former partner of Dan's, and he was like, you have to check out this company. So they were in Mesa. I drove over, I met Dan first, and my initial interest into Rayva was the actual product. And then it led to investor, and then it led to actually kind of co-founding Rayva, because at the time it was a different company, and being heavily involved now in solar. So kind of going back to Rayva and its benefits and what Dan touched on earlier, us being a B2B, going into builders directly, it drastically improves the cost basis for the end user, the homeowner, and it drastically improves the effectiveness, the aesthetics, and then the tax credits. So if you're a homeowner and you want to go buy a house and you add your Rayva solar system, you could see anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000, $18,000 back in a federal tax credit for doing so.
Awesome. So without naming them, top 3 competitors you guys have, how are you guys different, better, leaner, faster, more inexpensive, whatever, but how does one choose Rayva, which is fairly new, you said
Yeah.
4 to 5 years in this iteration, right?
Right.
Versus say some of the bigs.
Yeah. Well, it's always the number one thing is always going to be price, right? So our price point is being B2B. We've cut out a lot of that commission rate, that middleman. We just go directly to the production builders or the builders themselves. And so number one is always going to be price, right? We're going to be able to win on price. The other is the supply chain. We're looking at doing a lot of things here locally, vertical integration over time, be able to not have a long lead time, right? We have at having the warehouse stocked and be able to deliver product on time. When you're working with production builders, they can't wait, right? The neighborhood's being built, the roofs are being done. They may have 10, 15, 20 houses at a time. We have to have that product ready for them. Right. We can't sell them a system and then say, hey, we'll get back to you in a couple months. So it's number one is the price point, and then the availability of the system is.
Yeah, I would say competitors. It's funny thing is there's not a lot of competitors in our actual space. The solar for sure, tons of solar companies, tons of solar manufacturing
When you
companies.
say in your space, do you mean the integrated?
Yes, the
Okay, yeah.
BIPV, the integrated. So Tesla is a big one that comes up. Everybody's heard of Tesla, and Tesla had a roof system that was incredibly beautiful. It was efficient, but it was ungodly expensive.
Is this Tesla still related? Is this Elon Musk Tesla?
Yes,
Okay.
same Tesla. Yeah. So, there are rumors out there that they may not continue their roof system because it's just not feasible. It's only really designed for a top echelon of homeowners and home buyers. And where with our product, it's actually the opposite. So with Rayva Solar, we're actually geared more towards the starter home, the high production builder home, low down payment. And the reason for that is because of the tax credit. So there's no cap on the tax credit. So as long as you have a tax burden, you get it back. There's no income cap. It's not something you can only use once. There's no restriction in that regard. So if you run some just kind of basic numbers, let's say you go buy a KB home or something like that for $400,000, 3.5% down, that's $14,000. If you add a Rayva system with energy backup, you could get $10,000 to $11,000 back in tax credit. So if you're a home builder and you're doing production build, you're appealing to an audience. It's like, hey, buy one of our energy smart homes and see your down payment come back to you the following year. But in terms of competitors, I think we're at the forefront. And I think that's the exciting part. We do feel that there's going to be a lot of people behind us. I always tell Dan, we're in a race. This is a race.
It's an arms race for sure.
It is.
To the market.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
whoever is going to get there first has a huge advantage. But whoever gets there first and then delivers and can execute and scale is the one that's going to win.
Absolutely. So there really aren't that many competitors that do the IPV product that really integrated photovoltaic. Like Ross said, Tesla. There's a few others out there. But they just haven't been able to be successful in scaling. So I'm sure we'll get into it later, but that is one of the huge benefits of Rayva as we get into the numbers later, is that scalability of this company product. Right? So typical solar sales is a door to door. They knock on your door. I think we've all had that. I have solar this Gen 1 on my home, and because it's integrated, sales guys can't see it, but they still knock on my door.
Sure.
I come out, hey, let's walk out in the driveway. Hey, look up there, and they're like, what's that? So that's typically how it's been done. It's one cell at a time, right? They knock on your door, they try and close that deal, and 4 or 5 weeks later, after permitting, they install the solar rack mounted up on top of your roof. With Rayva, the scalability is just tremendous. Right? Because we're working directly with production builders. So one of those, middle of the road production builder may do 7,000 to 10,000 homes a year, perpetuity every year. So we work with one customer that's 10,000 homes every year. Instead of doing onesie twosies, we're looking at the scaling, the numbers. We'll talk a little bit more about that, how those numbers can just become astronomical.
And these builders want to go with you for two reasons. One, because it's a better looking product, right, for their home that they're building, which is cool. And you mentioned the price is better.
Yep.
So it benefits them as well.
Exactly.
So as the mortgage guy, right, and you've been a top producing mortgage expert here for 20 plus years, and I know you're connected with builders. How has the builder feedback been so far when you introduced Rayva?
They're excited. I mean, they want to see the Rev 2. They want to pilot with us and run some neighborhoods. Our value for them is not just the manufacturer. We're also going to be like, I think, like a true partner, which is going to help them. There's the Beezers of the world that really are the leaders in home efficiency. That's what they're known for, right? As their home efficiency ratings and touting that. There's a lot of builders out there that aren't in that category but could be. And what we're wanting to bring to them is how we can show them by integrating our product within their home build. Not only do they have a bigger call to action for their home buyer, like, hey, home buyer, buy one of our homes, energy efficient, save on your energy bill, get back the tax credit. But we're going to help them market that and brand that. So it's not like, here's our product, we're going to sell it to you. We're going to deploy our marketing team, our resource team to help them brand their products to our product.
When we look at like a development, typically here in Phoenix, you walk into a development, there may be 4 or 5 or 6 buildings. So if you're a home buyer and you walk in and buy the ABC home or the EFG home over here, and they're both about the same price, but this one has full solar production, energy efficient, it's battery storage, and oh, by the way, as soon as I close on that home in the next year, I'll be able to take a tax credit, 30%. It becomes a no-brainer. And so that's what builders that we're speaking with, that's what they really love about the product. It looks great. It's integrated into the roof. It's a great price, and their home buyers get fully efficient energy production and energy storage home, and then also they're also able to
Doesn't
take
no
a
one
tax
void
credit.
the warranty?
Doesn't, yeah.
People
That was my next question. Full warranty, like every other
Full warranty,
solar,
25 years. Yep,
25
production
years.
warranty.
So you mentioned production at the end of the year. So from now to the end of the year, is this just R&D and doing a bunch of testing
That's great.
for
Great
weather
question.
and everything else, right?
Yep.
Because it's going to be 105 degrees here for the next 5 months,
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
Or hotter.
105.
or hotter. Sorry,
I was going to say 105. I'll take that.
That's May.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
105. I'll take
That's
that.
almost now. It's April.
Yeah, no, it's
we know it can withstand heat, right?
Yeah, so
but
Phoenix,
then hail and
honestly, Phoenix is like the test bed for heat, right? And heat and electricity just don't mix very well. So the idea is that once, the rack mounted systems are up above the roof and they have airflow under them, and that makes them a lot more efficient. So for the aesthetics, it looks a lot better integrated into the roof. But once you enclose that envelope with that roof, now you have the heat behind there, and how does it escape, right? And so, without giving too many secrets, and obviously we have patents and things that we're working on, but our engineering team has created an airflow system that can cool those panels, even though they're integrated into the roof. So if it can work and be efficient here in Phoenix in the summertime at, I don't know, 180 degrees or whatever it is here, 110, 115, then it will be efficient.
But don't you also have times here in Phoenix where when it's not super hot, you have monsoon season? Because I lived here once for about 6 months, and hail, right?
Yep.
Get some hail.
Yeah. So this can withstand everything.
Everything. So it's, so between now, to answer the question earlier, between now and the end of the year, the design lock has been set. Our engineers have set that. It's done. We're moving into testing in-house, and then we move into UL testing, which is just a government regulated test. And there's not much we can do about that. It takes about 5 months. You put it in there, and those guys run it through wind, uplift, hail, fire, spread of flame, damp heat. It's about 5 months of just putting the product through all the pains of Mother Nature, basically.
And is the goal to be national all across the country?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's many markets, many states where the government is mandating that new home builds have to have a certain amount of energy, right? California being one of them.
Exactly.
Does that steer focus into making sure you want to be in California to take advantage of the
100%.
mandatory? Yep.
100%. And the issue, what Ross touched on earlier, was that in California, we talked to these builders, and they are frustrated because it is mandated that at least a 20% offset of energy for the home is with renewable. Well, what happens is they build a brand new house, beautiful home. The customer, closes on the home, they move in, they have to put rack mounted systems up there. Well, the subcontractor that did the roof no longer honored the warranty because that's a brand new roof. And then all of a sudden you come in and punch it with hundreds of holes to mount those pedestals for the rack mount. Well, with the Rayva product, there's none of that. We hang on those wooden battens just like the tile does. We don't penetrate the roof any more than tile would. So
our B2B, so it's builders, but it's also roofers,
right?
So national roofers, and also solar contractors or solar installers. So it's funny because when we talk to any solar company out there, they're like immediately like their eyes perk up, right? And they're like, when are you gonna have this product? Because they're asked every single day from their customers when they're going door to door, would you have something that would blend more in
Sure.
with my roof line so it doesn't stick out? They don't know exactly what it is. It's like, maybe they know it's a roof tile or of some sorts, but they know the power of what we're doing, and it could be a new product for them to sell.
That's very cool. So what does Rayva stand for?
It's actually, it doesn't stand for anything. It's just a name that we came up with kind of collectively, and something that kind of is different, unique. But obviously you have the solar rays, and obviously I don't have it here in front of me, but we have our logo that is kind of indicative of those rays and our panels.
We'll put it up there.
Yeah.
So we know how the consumer wins because they get a cheaper price with what's more efficiency and a better look, right?
Yep. Better look, tax credit, and subsidized energy.
That's the consumer. The builder wins because also better look, cheaper price.
Yep.
And what else is in it for the builder?
Well, they also have government tax credits for the builder as well, right?
Okay.
So we're talking, there's some of the builders that Ross mentioned earlier, like Beazer and Meritage, some of these that are very knowledgeable about these tax credits, have already implemented them. But a lot of that we speak with, they don't know about them. But there's Energy Star, and that's directly for the builder, tax credit back for the builder per house. And then there's a Zero Energy Ready Home, which is through the Department of Energy. They call it Zero Energy Ready Home, and that's even more significant. So if they can meet these milestones and have this renewable energy on there, they can get money back as well.
Yeah, you don't even actually you have to have a low HERS rating, which is a home and efficiency rating system. So they go and they measure how efficient your home is, and like windows and your envelope and all those things factor into it. For the ZERS credit from the Department of Energy, the home just has to be solar ready. So we're going to start seeing like Clayton, like we're going to start seeing a lot of builders have these homes solar ready, which are just primed to add our product to.
Exactly.
And then I think the other thing for the builder where they win is it's a call to action. So it's, builders are always looking for something different or better that they can offset or market to their competitor, right? So most of these builders build a very similar home. It's usually the same subcontractors that build them, same framers, roofers, whatever. So it goes into maybe aesthetics and design. Price point obviously is a big factor, but when you get into extra benefits like maybe there's some upgrades or there's financing concessions and or Rayva energy system, that's a big differentiator.
Yep. All right, so builder wins, consumer wins. Let's talk some numbers and investors, right? So I know you guys are raising money for investments. Full transparency, I own the equity firm, Powerhouse Investing Group, and our group has been, I think, pretty in partnership with you guys in trying to get you guys some good investments.
Yeah,
we have
love it.
Quite a few folks who are super excited, right? We've got on the pig side that's investing in Rayva, we have engineers who loved it when they heard you on the call, and your engineer Lynn, I think, right?
Yes.
We've got just folks who don't know, how to spell solar, and but they love it because they love the numbers and everything else that comes with it. So from an investment standpoint, when we start talking numbers, where do you guys want to be from a value standpoint? Homes sold, I don't know how you guys measure it, but not homes sold. Solar panels installed turns into X amount of volume, which turns into X amount of revenue. Right. Where is it you guys want to be, and where are you trying to take this so an investor can start understanding kind of what they'd be getting into?
That's a wonderful question, and I'm sure we'll kind of bounce it back and forth here.
Well, I was going to say, so Dan, what would you say? What would be the average size Rayva system a new home builder would implement?
So the homes are being built very efficiently these days, right? Windows, insulation, everything. So we're not trying to sell the largest system possible to make a commission because we don't have that commission in that, we don't have that middleman. So we're looking at systems that are in the 4, 5, or 6 kilowatt range.
So let's say just 5 kilowatt system. And let's just put $2.50 per watt. So 5 kilowatt, 250, it's 12,500.
12,500.
And then we've got a battery that's probably in the 10.
Probably 10, yeah. So
10,
you're looking at $22,000, $23,000 for full energy production and energy storage.
And so when you kind of look at like our deployment method and our scale, look at the U.S. I think on average we build 700,000 homes per year as a country, which is a deficit, by the way.
Yep.
We're about 400,000 homes short per year. Let's say that we get a 1% market share, which is a lot, but I think very doable.
Absolutely.
But it's only 1%. So that's 7,000 homes per year, right?
Right.
So on a 5 kilowatt system, 23,500, on 7,000 homes per year, that's annual revenues of, now we have this math on our deck, but it's
Do the math.
Let's see.
20,500 per home,
Right.
7,000 homes per year. It's about 230 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And what's the current valuation of renewables and solar companies right now?
So the solar industry in the U.S. is at about in 2022 is just shy of $30 billion.
3 billion.
Yeah,
That's a market cap.
Market cap of that. And the CAGR, the compound annual growth rate for solar in the U.S. is targeted at 13.7% from now until 2030. So that's significant growth,
Yeah.
right? Some interesting facts about.
Well, that's where the valuation is derived from. That's your point,
Exactly right.
So
yeah.
we have that kind of increase in
Yep.
business. That's how your multiples get created.
Exactly. And solar is coming in a lot, very strong. It has in the last couple of years, and it's going to just keep growing because as a nation, we're only at about 4% penetration rate. Only about 4% of homes
Have solar.
have solar, right? And so that number is actually decreasing year after year because there are more homes built
Without solar.
yes, without solar than are getting solar.
So where do you think we'll be in 5 years?
So I think that our target is at Rayva is to flip that, right? And so going directly to the production builders, all these new homes, maybe 700,000 homes or whatever, maybe say 500,000 homes. So we're looking at obviously doing some pilot programs and doing that. But in the next 2 to 3 years, we feel that the biggest hurdle we'll have is to meet demand and scaling.
Because electricity is only going higher and higher.
Only going higher and higher.
I've never seen electricity costs go lower.
Public
No.
perception of
Yeah.
failed grid systems. I mean, you look at like Lake Mead and that water, for a while there was almost down to
Right.
nothing. Well, that dam produces energy for that city. So you get power, you get blackouts. I mean, Dallas has had them.
California has blackouts all the time, rolling blackouts.
Right.
People
right.
want independence. They want energy independence. And with the Rayva system, the solar tile obviously creates energy, and with the battery system, it stores energy. So we think for that reason, there's going to be more and more demand.
We're talking serious growth. We're looking at a couple thousand, 1,000 to 2,000 homes next year, and then we're jumping up to
So how much
7,000,
revenue is
10,000.
2,000 homes?
2,000 homes at say $25,000 a home. That's 20 million. 15.
15 to 20 million. That's
Yeah.
2,000. And then
Yeah.
you're going to continue to grow exponentially.
Yep.
So 4 or 5 years from now, what's the revenue?
We're looking at
expectation?
doing about 30,000 homes within 3 years. So 30,000 homes at say just rounding up to $25,000 within 3 to 4 years.
At 22,500 per home.
Yeah.
That's 600 million.
Yeah.
So $600 million in 3+ years, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you guys have a exit strategy? Are you looking to at some point sell to one of the bigs? And if you are, what's your target price point? What would you accept and when?
We do. We have that in our roadmap, and so we absolutely are looking at some kind of acquisition. IPO is obviously also an option, but most likely would be an acquisition to one of the bigs. And we want to make sure, we dream big. We want to be at $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yep, $1 billion plus.
So I'm an investor. I've got $50,000 to play with, and I want to give it in Rayva because I like where you guys are headed.
Yep.
There aren't many companies out there that aren't exactly on the public side, right?
Yep.
We're a private company that has a potential 5-year evaluation target list of $1 billion.
Right.
That's what I just heard, right?
Yep.
So I got $50,000. What is in 5 years from now, if and when there's an acquisition, where's my 50 go? What do I get back?
So $50,000 right now. We're in the seed round. It's a $15 million valuation. So 50,000 would be
8x,
yeah.
7x, 7x, 70, right? Is that right?
So
It's
so
not 7, it's 70.
yeah, 70.
Yeah.
it'd be 70x in 5 years, right?
On $50,000, that's 3.5 mil. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do the math. I'm usually much better at math than this. So if we have 15 million into a billion, I think it's 7, right? Just under 7, 6.7. So 67x.
67x.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's call it 70.
Yeah.
50,000 times 70 is $3.5 million.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So I give you 50 grand, you guys do your thing. And you get all the consumers we want, the builders are excited about it,
Right.
and you keep growing your company. You start flipping that model from homes that are not with solar to now homes that are with solar.
Yep.
Then that 50 can turn into 3.5 in 5 years.
And this isn't like any startup is a moonshot to a certain degree.
Sure.
And I think, people might say, oh, it's pie in the sky. But if you really look at the data and you look at the space we're in and we look at our competitors and we look at the opportunities, it doesn't take long to come to our goals, right? It doesn't take us to be like, oh, well, we could stretch this. It's like, no. You look at the sheer amount of volume that homes are being built. Look at the tax credit, which is extended for 8 more years, right? So that incentive is in place for 8 more years. You look at our cost basis. You look at our deployment method going directly to builders, roofers, solar contractors. Getting to those numbers doesn't where we're going to have our challenge. It's like Dan said, is like making sure that we are ahead of everything and that we are scaled up and tooled up to meet demand, because the demand's going to be there.
Well, I'm not the engineer and I'm not the solar person. I'm an investor and money guy. So if you guys, and I know you don't want to, but let's say you guys completely crapped the bed and did half what you thought you were going to do.
Say we did a quarter.
But I mean,
Yeah.
if anyone in any business, if they do 50% less than what they wanted, that's not great. But if you did half of what you said you're going to do and do 500 mil,
Yeah.
that's still 50 grand goes into 1.75 mil. To your point, if you do a quarter of that, then you cut it in half again.
We did 15%. We sell the company for 150 million. Well, we're $15 million valuation.
Yeah.
That's a 10x.
It's a 10x.
10x
So
right
50
there.
is 500 grand.
Yeah.
And that's like not doing at all what you said you were going to do.
Right.
So the sky's the limit.
We fell short. Yeah, there was something that happened. And that's very possible, because we could start getting into production, see issues, and have somebody come in and make an offer, and we go to our investors and we're like, well, what do you think? And we're like, yes. Right. So I think sometimes the bird in the hand is the way to go. But when we're doing our goal planning, when we're doing our SVP, we are basing it on the higher valuation because we think it's very doable.
Absolutely. And that the higher valuation comes from what I was explaining earlier, is that if we have 2, 3, or 4 customers and they all do 5 to 10,000 homes a year,
And 10% of their homes.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. You mean it's.
we have some builders that are saying, hey, we want to make this mandatory, and we're not even mandatory, just standard on every home, ubiquitous on every home that we build. And then some are saying, hey, we want to make it an offer, kind of another arrow in our quiver for our customers. Do you want solar or not? But this is an integrated solar with a battery package. It's an excellent price. We think it's going to be a no-brainer, but we do have builders that are saying it's not a question of if they want it. It's just a question of how large of a system do they want. Do they want additional battery storage? Do they want a larger solar system? There is a point of diminishing return there, right? And we've worked with the builders on that. You don't need a huge solar system if you have a very efficient home, right? And that's just money down the drain. So there's a balancing act there. But like I said, if we're working with a handful of builders, and if just 2 or 3 of those builders come on after a pilot program of maybe 5 to 50 homes in some neighborhoods around the valley or wherever it may be, and in 2025 we move into, or 2025, 2026, we move out of that pilot program into full implementation of those homes. I mean, you're talking 5 to 10,000 homes per production builder. The largest being D.R. Horton, closing about 70,000 homes a year.
Right.
Clayton, 60,000. So our biggest hurdle is going to be that first 1 or 2 builders.
Right.
Getting those first 1 or 2 builders, and like someone that has a national name that people see. Because once 1 or 2 are on board, then it's not a tough discussion or conversation with other builders, because the proof of concept and the vetting's already been completed by another builder. And then if they don't have it, then they're going to want it. We do feel like there will be competitors behind us, but where we think we'll win is through our service level, our product, our engineering team, which you mentioned, Lynn Nefkin. She's our COO. She's our lead engineer, and she's brilliant. And her and her team are going to constantly be reinventing a better and better product. So we want to get into Rayva is not going to be just solar. It's a Rayva energy system. So we're going to be an integrated roof tile. We're going to be an asphalt shingle, an AI home, a smart home. So like if you're at work and your system's driving energy and your battery's full, but your pool needs to be ran. Okay, let's kickstart the pool. Let's run the dishwasher. Let's run major appliances that take up a lot of energy because we have the energy right now.
Great.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more than
How far along is that? The smart home thing.
there's a lot of the components there. Now it's just building the software, and then it's also the rest of the industries, the appliance companies catching up to it as well. So they have to have the capabilities. They have to have some sort of Bluetooth, some sort of component that you can talk to those devices. So you're not far away.
Yeah, it would be integration. It'd be integration into the Google Home, Nest. All these already have a lot of their smart home devices that will integrate with. Now they have to be connected to, the AC units, the pool pumps, and all that. But like Ross said, we're using the home as a battery basically because we're using up that energy instead of pushing it back to the grid. With the grid, we have to understand that the grid is very complex and that they're in the business of selling us energy. They're not so much in the business of buying energy from millions of homes, right? It's complicated for them to do that. And so in their defense, if we can, instead of pushing tons of power back onto the grid, we can just use that because it's free. Like Ross said, we're producing, our battery's fully charged. The sun's out. Nobody's at home because you're at work. The kids are at school. No one's using it. Well, that's super cool, the house, because, we know when Dan gets home, he likes it at 76 degrees. So the AI system very basic AI system could say, okay, we know the ambient temperature outside in Phoenix here is 102. Indoors is, 78, and the efficiency of the home is X. So we'll super cool this home to 69 degrees, and we'll cut off the AC at, 3:12 in the afternoon. And when Dan walks through the door, it's going to be 76 degrees.
That's why we're raising money. We need, to deploy our engineering team so that they can build out these systems and the software. But the cool thing about with our deployment method at time of construction, it's going to be brand new homes. So adding these systems and the wiring and the setup and the brand new appliances, we can do that. Retrofitting an older home might be more challenging.
It's harder. Yeah. Cool. So it sounds like when you said earlier, there's pie in the sky and there's realistic. We're more headed on the realistic side than the pie in the sky because it seems like all systems are geared to do this the right way.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Dan, what do you do for fun?
Oh, for fun, I've had, you and I have talked about this with a number of injuries. So I try and do low impact sports now, mountain biking, swimming, hiking.
Mountain biking is a low impact sport?
It is until you fall.
Until you fall. I just try not to fall. That's all.
Yeah.
So I enjoy being in the outdoors. I enjoy hunting. I have 4 kids, so it keeps me very busy. I have to say my wife's probably even busier. She's a school teacher, teaches middle school art. Bless her heart, right? And
yeah.
So got 2 kids in college. The older 2 are girls, and the other 2 are boys, and they're both in high school. And so
got one engaged too.
Got one engaged, yeah, getting married. The oldest one's getting married in August, so up in Montana.
Congratulations.
So what do I do for fun? A lot of it is just going to sports events and kids' activities.
What part of Montana is she getting married at?
It's a small little town called Cook City.
Okay.
It's right across the border from Wyoming. So her future in-laws live in Cody, but they have a ranch just across the border in Montana. And I haven't been there yet, but the videos and the pictures look absolutely stunning.
My brother, and 20 years later, his daughter got married in Montana.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Just beautiful. I was actually born in Montana. My father was in the Air Force. We were in Great Falls, but haven't spent a whole lot of time there since, but I would love to. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Well, that's one of the perks, I guess, of the wedding being in Montana is you get to go to some rad place.
Yeah, it's definitely a destination.
Be thankful the family's not from Roswell.
So Ross, what do you do for fun?
Full-blown golf addict, like diehard. Yeah, COVID did that. So it was like maybe playing 6 times a year, and then COVID hits. The only thing you can do really out and about was go golf, reinvigorate that whole addiction. We love to travel. We're blended. We have 6 kids combined. 3.5 are out of the house. Our 18-year-old's getting ready to go to NAU this summer. But we like to travel with all of them and spend time with them. So our adult kids, our younger kids are going through that phase where like they don't want to hang out with us, but the older kids do. So we know that we've got hope for the younger kids because eventually they'll get there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you guys, I appreciate your time. I think as a solar consumer, which I am, I hope this continues to go well in the solar route because electricity is so crazy, especially where I live in Dallas too.
Yeah.
I went from $1,700 a month in my summer months of electricity bill to probably a quarter of that now, and that was through solar. I wish it was integrated because my neighbors complain twice already.
I was going to say that's another
They've
good point,
complained,
right?
and,
Your
and
HOA.
the HOA complained, and they actually tried to get us to take it down, and we had to almost potentially have to sue them because the city approved it. And in Dallas, if the city approves something, it supersedes the HOA. But that was kind of a headache, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You put an $80,000 system in there, and then they tell you have to take it down. We're like, how do we take it down?
Yeah.
Even if we wanted to, we wouldn't know. It's £1 million. So as a solar consumer,
Yeah.
I wish you the best. As your friend and your friend personally now, I wish you guys obviously the best success. And as an investor, which I am in Rayva, full disclosure, I hope you guys crush it.
Yes.
and as someone who leads an investment team, then I guess speaking on behalf of all of them, I hope that you guys crush it as well. So we'll be watching you and hearing all the updates, and when it starts getting on roofs, we'd love to see some pictures and check it out.
Well, we appreciate the PIG group immensely.
You guys have been awesome to work
Super
with.
powerful,
Yeah.
powerful stuff, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys are powerhouses, and that's why you're on the Powerhouse Podcast. Thanks again, guys.
Love
All
it.
right.
See you guys.
Thank you.